3 bone-chilling, true vacation horrors that haunt you this summer. Will you survive? The sun was supposed to shine bright on the idyllic beach, but for 3 unlucky travelers, it became the backdrop for their most terrifying vacation ever. It started innocently enough: warm breeze, sandy toes, and the rhythmic sound of waves crashing. But as evening fell, shadows crept, and fear slithered through the air like a whisper of doom. In a distant corner, a chilling scream pierced the air, sending shivers down the spine of every passerby. It was heard not once, but twice, echoing from the decrepit lighthouse perched on the cliff. Legend had it that the place was haunted by the ghost of a shipwrecked captain, cursed to roam the shores searching for the souls of the living. Locals exchanged nervous glances, their eyes flaring with a mix of shock and fear. No one dared to approach the old tower after sunset. But curiosity has a way of doing just that. It pulls you in. As twilight deepened, 3 friends, Jake, Lily, and Mark, decided to venture closer, daring each other until they were standing at the cliff's edge. "It's just a story," Jake bellowed, trying to mask the tightness in his chest. Yet, the air felt electric, crackling with something they couldn't quite name. The wind howled, lifting Lily's hair, forming a wild halo around her. That's when it happened. A light flickered in the lighthouse, casting an eerie glow across the rocky shore. "Did you see that?" Mark's voice shook. The bravado was gone. With every heartbeat, the tension thickened. The friends exchanged glances, their faces drawn tight with unanswered questions. What had sparked that flash of light? Was it a signal or a trap? It hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. They could almost hear the quiet pulse of the ocean, whispering secrets meant only for them. Just then, another scream echoed, but this one was filled with unmistakable terror, and it spiraled down into the depths of night. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the friends stood frozen, entranced by the lighthouse's ominous glow, an icy breeze surged through them, a harbinger of the horror that awaited. The door of the lighthouse creaked open, barely visible shadows stirring within. Was it the captain, or something far worse? They hesitated, breath caught between fear and a strange allure, the need to step back, battling against the desire to uncover the truth lurking in the darkness. The air thickened with suspense, and just like that, they made their choice. Would they face whatever haunted that place, or would they run and leave their fears and perhaps their lives behind? The door swung wide, revealing the dark maw of the lighthouse. A deep, musty smell curled out, like the breath of something long trapped within. Jake felt his heart thrum louder, each beat echoing in his ears as he tried to peer inside. The faint flicker beckoned them closer, drawing them into the shadows. "Are we really doing this?" Lily whispered, her voice trembling with equal parts fear and excitement. "Come on, it's just an old shack. What's the worst that could happen?" Mark replied, but even he didn't sound convincing. He shifted from foot to foot, glancing over his shoulder as if the very darkness behind them was watching. With a deep breath, Jake stepped forward, enticed by the light that flickered deeper inside, its glow pulsing like a heartbeat. The others followed, hesitant, yet equally pulled by an invisible thread. As they crossed the threshold, the temperature dropped. Goosebumps spread across their arms, and a chill crept down their spines. Once inside, they squinted through the dim light. Dust particles danced in the air, backlit by that strange light, and the walls covered in peeling paint seemed to creak and moan under the weight of untold secrets. "Where's that light coming from?" Mark murmured, scanning the cramped space. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from above. The friends froze. "Did you hear that?" Jake's voice was barely above a whisper, his bravado evaporating in the shadows. "Guys, we should go," Lily insisted, her voice trembling, hands finding comfort in Jake's arm. "No, wait. Let us just check it out," Mark urged, his curiosity outweighing his fear. He climbed the rickety stairs leading to the tower room. The ancient would protesting underfoot. "Mark, be careful," Jake called after him. But Mark was already halfway up, the light pulsing brighter the higher he climbed. Lily held back, her intuition screaming at her. "This doesn't feel right. We shouldn't be here." Ignoring her, Jake grabbed her wrist. "We can't just leave him." Together, they cautiously ascended the staircase, each step echoing like a grave warning that as they reached the top, an overwhelming presence enveloped them. The room was sparsely decorated. An old lantern sat on a table, flickering with the same ominous glow. A large window framed the turbulent sea below, waves crashing with violent fury against the cliffside. Mark stood transfixed, staring out at the stormy horizon, his face illuminated by the infernal light. "Look, something's out there." Lily squeezed Jake's hand, heart racing. "What do you see?" Mark's eyes were wild with terror as he pointed. "It's a ship. No, a ghost ship." The lantern flickered violently, and in that instant, the air shifted. Whispers echoed in the room, chilling the bone. Souls Lost Jake felt something brush against his back, a cold breeze that felt like a hand. He turned sharply, but there was nothing there. Their breaths quickened, turning clouded in the chilling air. "Stay together," he urged, trying to mask his own fear. Then, without warning, the lantern sputtered out, plunging them into darkness. Panic surged through Jake. "We need to get out. Now." But just as they turned to flee, the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. Heart pounding, they pushed against it, panic rising. The walls felt alive, closing in around them. "Mark, do something," Lily shouted, desperation creeping into her voice. He tried to pry the door open, but it wouldn't budge. "What the hell is happening?" Then, from the depth of the shadows, a low, guttural voice rumbled. "You've come for the truth, Haven you?" Their eyes widened, despair mingling with terror. Who are you?" Jake stammered, each word a struggle. "Only the keeper of your fate, and it's time to choose." The tension hung thick, an invisible blade poised to strike. What choice would they make? Confront the terror or surrender to it? And as adrenaline coursed through their veins, a shocking thought invaded Jake's mind. What if the real horror was still waiting for them outside? Just then, a flash of light erupted from the lantern, illuminating figures flickering in and out of existence, souls. Trapped in their own hell, they stood paralyzed, faced with a truth that would unravel their entire vacation. What lay ahead was more terrifying than they could ever imagine. Would they unravel the dark secrets of the lighthouse? Or would they become part of its haunting history, forever lost to the waves? A silence fell over them, heavier than the darkness that enveloped the room. Jake's heart hammered in his chest like a trapped bird, each thud a reminder of the peril they faced. The flickering light filled the air with a ghostly glow, casting silhouettes that twisted and writhed as if alive. "Choose," the voice rumbled, echoing off the cold stone walls of the lighthouse. The words hung ominously in the air, burdening them with their weight. "Choose what?" Lily's voice trembled, sounding far too small against the vastness of the shadows. Jake caught her eye, desperation clawing at him. "Choose whether to confront your fears, or to become just another lost soul," the entity replied, its tone layered with an ancient knowledge that sent shivers down their spines. "Fear is the key and also the cage." Mark stepped back, the panic in his eyes taking over. "We should go. We need to get out of here." Lily clutched Jake's arm tighter, her fingers trembling. "Jake, I don't like this. We need to listen to Mark. It's not safe. You think I'm going to let some shadowy figure dictate what we do?" Mark shot back, though his voice quaked with doubt. "What if this is how it ends for us?" "Ends?" The voice seemed to laugh softly, a chilling sound that brought a sharp chill to their bones. "For some, it has already ended. But for you the choice remains." Jake felt time stretch. Their survival depended on their decision, but how could they face an unknown terror? The lantern flickered again, illuminating the tormented faces within its glow. Each face told a story of anguish, their mouths moving in soundless screams that sent tears welling in Jake's eyes. "Please stop this," Jake called out, feeling a surge of courage amidst the suffocating fear. "Show us how to leave. In time, all will be revealed," the creature intoned, its voice deepening like a storm approaching. "But first, you must confront what you fear the most." "What if what I fear is here?" Mark yelled, his voice cracking. "Then you are already lost." Without warning, The light filled the room again, casting out the shadows momentarily. It created two pathways, one leading to the door they had entered, and the other, a darkened passage behind the lantern, deeper into the unknown. And what happens if we don't choose? Lily asked, her eyes darting between the two paths. Then you will remain as you are trapped in the facade of your vacation, unable to comprehend the true horror that lies ahead. Fearful murmurs slipped from their lips, filling the air with anxious energy. They could feel the weight of indecision pressing down on them. Would they leave, retreating back into the safety of the outside world? Or would they venture deeper, risking everything to unearth the mystery that haunted the lighthouse? Jake Lily's voice was a whisper. What do we do? He caught her gaze, the urgency of the moment stark in her features. The entities trapped in the lantern still writhed, desperate eyes searching for liberation. We have to confront this. Whatever it is, we can't run. Are you sure? Yes, he declared, although uncertainty gnawed at him. We'll face it together. Jake took a step towards the darkened passageway behind the lantern, the oppressive air thickening around him. And just as they prepared to move forward, the ground beneath their feet tremored, a pulse reverberating through the lighthouse, shaking the very foundation. I hope you are ready, the voice echoed ominously, as if predicting their doom or their salvation. With their hearts racing, they shared one last look before stepping forward into the unknown. What awaited them on the other side? The shadows writhed in anticipation, ready to welcome them into the abyss. They plunged deeper, their lives hanging in the balance, only to hear the disembodied whispers trailing after them. The storm is just beginning, and then a deafening crash outside reverberated through the lighthouse, shaking it to its core, leaving them to question not just their next choice, but their very future. What had they unleashed by entering the lighthouse? What secrets would the storm reveal? The air thickened as they passed through the darkened passage. The flickering lantern light faded behind them like a dying heartbeat, plunging them into a void where sound and sight twisted together in an unsettling dance. Jake could barely see his own hand in front of his face, and Lily's breath against his skin felt like a ghost whispering warnings of their impending doom. We can't stop, Jake urged through gritted teeth, his resolve wavering. He tightened his grip around Lily's hand, feeling her pulse racing. With each step, the shadows pressed in closer, heavy with secrets and the weight of those who had come before them. Whispers fluttered just beyond their grasp, tantalizing and terrorizing. They could almost decipher words, but they were washed away in the whirl of uncertainty. Then, a low rumble resonated through the walls, vibrating the stones beneath their feet. What was that? Mark hissed, his voice trembling. Just the wind, Jake lied, masking his own fear. But the wind seemed to howl, feeding off their dread, pushing back harder as if it wanted them to turn around and flee. We have to keep moving, Lily said, her voice barely above a whisper. She sounded uncertain but determined, a flicker of courage igniting within her. Suddenly, the passage opened into a cavernous chamber, its size making Jake's breath hitch. Strange symbols adorned the walls, carved with a craftsmanship that sent shudders of unimaginable ages through him. Flickers of blue light illuminated the room like distant, lost souls searching for recognition, each glimmer catching the corners of his vision but fading before he could focus on them. What is this place? Mark asked, his voice echoing off the stone. I don't know, Jake murmured, but something feels wrong. In the center of the room sat an altar, draped in shadows yet exuding an aura of ancient power. The air thickened, vibrating with energy, drawing them in closer. As Jake approached it, the whispers converged into coherent phrases, a terrified cacophony that sank deep into his bones. Help us, set us free, don't leave us. The icy chill of dread enveloped him. His throat tightened. What do you want? The blue lights intensified, swirling faster, creating images of desperate faces, people lost to despair, their eyes wide with a mix of hope and fear. It was a sickening reminder of their own fate if they couldn't unravel the enigma that enveloped them. Jake, we need to get out, Lily cried, her nails digging into his arm, urgency pulling at her voice. No. He pulled away, defiance igniting within him. We need to know what happened here. We can't leave them trapped. But before they could debate further, the ground heaved violently. A tremor rattled through the chamber, forcing them to stagger backward. The altar shone brighter, and the screams intensified, surrounding them, drowning out their cries for calm. Mark collapsed to his knees, hands pressed against his ears. "Make it stop," he shouted, horror etched into every line of his face. And in the midst of the turmoil, a new figure emerged, a shadow stretching from the altar. It loomed tall, its form flickering like a dying flame, an entity of pure darkness. "You seek to unravel the truth?" it hissed, a voice both alluring and menacing. "Then your fates are intertwined with the souls that call this place home." Jake's heart raced, pounding against the walls of his ribcage. "What do you mean?" "Face the truth," the entity whispered, and suddenly, Jake and Lily were engulfed by vivid visions of their own past fears, cloaked in turmoil, rising to the surface. Heartbreak, loss, betrayal, everything they had tried to bury. As the visions swirled around them like an unstoppable tempest, Jake's mind reeled, fear taking root. They were not just in a place haunted by spirits, but a place forcing them to confront their very souls. "We're running out of time," Lily shouted, tears streaking down her cheeks as she struggled against the weight of their fears. Just as Jake opened his mouth to respond, the shadows around them surged, clawing at their reality. The entity's voice echoed, "Only by confronting the darkness within can you hope to escape, or be lost forever." Their breaths quickened, realizing the intensity of their situation. The storm outside roared ferociously, a reflection of the chaos inside. Would they emerge stronger, or would they succumb to the shadows, trapped forever within the lighthouse's haunting embrace? The entity's figure loomed closer, its features smudging with an incomprehensible rage. Jake felt his lungs tighten, but he wouldn't surrender. "Together, we face this." With one final surge of determination, they stood united but uncertain, preparing to confront the storm both inside them and out. Or would the abyss simply swallow their souls whole? As the shadows lunged forward, the moment of truth had arrived. Would they be lost, or would they find a way to rise against their worst fears? Jake's heart pounded in his ears as the shadows coiled closer, each flicker of the entity drawing them into an inescapable grip of dread. The whispers swelled around them, echoing the very worst moments of their lives, amplifying their mistakes, paralyzing their hope. Lily released a breathless sob, her resolve now a fragile thread. "Jake, don't say that. We have to stick together," he urged, his voice barely audible above the storm rising around them. His grip on her hand tightened. "Remember why we came down here. We need to know. We need to fight. But what if it's too late?" Mark's voice wavered, the quaking in his knees evident as he leaned against the altar, his face a mask of terror. "The only way out is through," Jake shouted, forcing them to focus on the chaotic energy illuminating the chamber. The altar pulsed violently, breathing with malevolence. With every ounce of his will, Jake took a step closer to the altar. "Show us," he shouted, desperation in his voice. "Show us what you want." A deafening roar exploded from the shadows, and the entity spiraled upward, the features of its face forming and collapsing in a whirlwind of colors. The air grew electric, and a blinding flash of light erupted, engulfing them all. They fell backward, the ground shifting beneath them like the tide. The cavern twisted, blurring the edges of reality. In the chaos, Jake glimpsed moments from his past, blood and betrayal rolling forward like a freight train. He saw his sister's tear-streaked face, heard her desperate pleas, "Why didn't you save me?" "No," he cried, attempting to scrub the memory away. But it was too late. Each regret shot through him like daggers, vivid and cutting. Panic surged in his throat. "I never wanted any of this," Lily screamed, staggering as the visions clawed at her too. Flashes danced before her eyes, dreams crushed underweight and sorrow. "Jake, I don't want to be here." "None of us do," Mark shouted, the fear dripping from his words like rain on a window pane. "But we can't give in. We have to face it." The shadows roared, cry after cry filling the chamber. Each one a reminder of the sorrows they'd borne, the choices they'd made. The lights turned into screams, deafening them with their pain. "Face the truth," the entity bellowed, its voice reverberating against the stone walls. Jake clutched Lily tighter as the cold shadows surged to engulf them. Their bodies trembled, hearts racing. But within that storm of fears, a flicker of conviction ignited. Jake remembered their reasons for being there, the shared stories, laughter, their bond akin to family. What if we confront what haunts us? He said, voice steadier now. What if we transform this pain into strength? We can't let it consume us. We have to fight, together, Lily said, her voice gaining momentum. Mark nodded, rising from the floor. Right. We stand as one. With newfound determination, they faced the entity. Jake could feel the pressure of their fears, but it no longer paralyzed him. It fueled him. They raised their arms, channeling their unity into a force meant to break the Shadow's hold. Together, they shouted in unison, the echoes of their voices intertwining, resonating with strength. The shadows surrounding them faltered, the images of loss and mourning starting to dissolve. But the entity would not let them go so easily. You think you can rise against me? You think your unity can save you? It hissed, the voice steeped in mockery. Let us go. They yelled back, their hearts beating like war drums against the whispers. The final crash reverberated through the chamber, the walls vibrating under the weight of their defiance. In that chaotic moment, the shadows recoiled, writhing as if hurt. Yet, in their moment of triumph, Jake caught a glimpse of something else weaving through the darkness, a flicker of connection, a hand reaching for theirs amidst the chaos. Jake! Lily gasped, her eyes wide with horror as another figure appeared, a familiar shape enveloped in shadows, pleading. It's your sister. The moment hung suspended, that single image catching Jake off guard. Would he reach for her, or continue the battle against the terrifying tendrils that sought to pull him in? The stakes had just escalated, and a new choice lingered before them: face the entity or risk everything to save a lost soul. What would he choose? And could they withstand the intensity of this harrowing decision, knowing that the outcome could trap them all forever? The air trembled with uncertainty, thick with the weight of Jake's choice. His heart seized in his chest. The image of his sister, lost and pleading, twisted like a knife. Could he turn away from her? Could he forsake her in this haunting place for the sake of their fight? Jake! Lily's voice snapped him back, desperation lacing her words. We can't lose sight of what's at stake. A bubbling rage stoked the entity's fury, shadows thrashing violently. You're foolish to believe you can save her. She belongs to me. All of you do. It roared, sending an icy chill up Jake's spine. She's not yours, he shouted back, clenching his fists. That Lily's grip tightened around him, her presence grounding. Remember your strength. It's not just about her. It's about us. Mark stepped forward, defiant yet trembling. We're here for each other. We fight for each other. Jake felt the swell of emotion within him, a fire igniting against the darkness. How could he not fight for his sister, but also for Lily, for Mark? They were more than just memories lost. They were a living testament to how far they decommed as if sensing their resolve. The entity unleashed a shriek that echoed through the cavern, the walls shaking violently as shadows morphed into grotesque forms. Faces twisted in agony, voices wailing in torment. Each echo resonated with a memory that clawed at their minds. Don't listen, Jake urged, raising his voice above the cacophony. They're only trying to weaken us. But the voices wrapped them in a web of despair, digging into their deepest regrets, even as camaraderie sparked between them. Jake could sense the energy shifting, a subtle but potent force building like the calm before a storm. Together we face our past, he declared, feeling the pulse of the chamber quicken with their collective will. They formed a circle, hands linked tightly, as if the bond alone could shield them from the darkness threatening to rend them apart. The shadows writhed, snaked through the air like living tendrils. You cannot escape. I will consume your souls. Not today, Mark shouted, his face tear-streaked, but his eyes burned bright with purpose. We won't let you take us. In a move that felt both reckless and brave, Jake and his friends turned inward. Instead of pushing against the entity, they confronted their pasts, embracing those haunting memories, the sadness and the shame. The flood of regret surged over them, cutting through their skin like icy sharp blades. I failed them, Jake whispered, his voice barely audible against the roar. But I can't dwell on that. I can move forward. Lily breathed deeply, her lungs filling with clarity. And I can channel my pain into strength. We all can. We're not alone. The shadows shrank as light emanated from their joined hands, illuminating the cavern as their collective faith erupted in luminescence. The entity shrieked, dissolving under the onslaught of shared light, dark fingers unraveling into sparks. Yet, just as victory seemed to catch its breath, Jake felt a gentle tug on his heart, a faint whisper, soft yet insistent. There she was again, his sister amidst the storm. "Jake, please." Her voice drifted, like the echo of a fading star. "No," he roared back, battling with the tug of longing. "I want to lose everything else I hold dear." The shadows churned violently. Foolish human. Choose between the lost and the living. They were at an impasse, the darkness swirling, the pressure tightening like a noose around their necks. Would he save her and forsake his friends? Or would he push forward with their collective strength, risking that connection, that flicker, might leave them all behind him? He heard Lily and Mark giving frantic breath, hearts shedding every ounce of doubt. Would their strength hold, or would despair drag them all down into the abyss? "Jake!" Lily's voice rang with urgency. "What are you going to do?" The torment lurked in the shadows, closing in, laying its traps. How could he decide? The pain wrenched inside him, the weight of the world stretching thin. Could Jake find a way to save them both? Or was he destined to choose one soul over another, risking it all in a place fueled by fears? The choice loomed, but what awaited him on the other side when the line of hope blurred into shadow? The shadows convulsed, wrapping tighter around Jake and his friends, a noose of despair squeezing every ounce of hope from their chests. The air was thick with dread. They were teetering on the edge of oblivion, the cavern pulsing like a heart ready to burst. "Jake, what are you waiting for?" Mark shouted, panic in his voice, his eyes wild with fear. "You have to choose." The weight of his sister's voice still lingered in his mind, a soft echo that tugged at his heartstrings. But in that moment, he could see Lily and Mark, their determination shining through their torment. They were his lifeline. He couldn't let the shadows tear them apart. With a surge of newfound courage, he shouted above the rising tempest, "We're not choosing one over the other. We will fight for everyone we love." The shadows momentarily hesitated, as if taken aback by the strength of their unity. But the entity was relentless, its mocking laughter filling the cavern, reverberating off the walls like jagged glass. "Foolish mortals, you think your weak bonds can hold against the darkness? I have seen what you fear. I will turn those you love into your nightmares." Before Jake could retort, the shadows transformed, shifting to reveal distorted faces, friends, family, moments lost. Each visage clawed at his sanity, each scream twisting like a knife. Memories flooded back, drowning him in sorrow. "No, stop," he yelled, holding his hands to his head, the torment unbearable. Lily's voice pushed through the chaos, steady and strong. "Jake, we face this together. Remember who we are." She and Mark tightened their grips, drawing him back from the edge. It was then that Jake felt a flicker of warmth break through the frigid sorrow that enveloped them. It was a shared memory of summer at the lake, laughter spilling over the water's surface, the sun bright and endless. Together, he breathed, the warmth spreading like wildfire. "We're stronger together." In a flash, the memory ignited their bond, pooling strength into a radiant energy that surged through their linked hands. The light pulsed, swirling against the shadows, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. "Stay with me," Jake urged, his eyes darting between his friends. "We can do this." With a fierce roar, they summoned every ounce of faith, pushing outwards as the entity howled in rage, thrashing in response to their joyful defiance. The dark forms shrieked and contorted, struggling against the bright light that flowed from their connection. But even as they fought back, Jake felt the chilling grip of despair creeping in again. "My sister," he whispered, glancing back into the shadows, hoping to catch a glimpse of her. "I want to abandon you." "Jake, focus," Lily cried, squeezing his hand tighter, urgency crackling through the air. "Remember the bond we have. It's more than blood, it's love." Her words reignited a flame in his chest, and he pushed forward, channeling that love into a wave of light. The shadows writhed in agony, their forms twisting violently as the brightness intensified around them. Yet in the eye of the storm, the entity bared its fangs, its voice dripping with malice. "You think you can escape your fate? The choice will be made. I will unleash the ultimate terror upon you." The shadows folded in on themselves, the cavern pulsing aggressively, as if the air itself held its breath. Jake felt a cold sweat bead on his brow, realization crashing over him. This battle was far from over. "Stand strong," Jake shouted, feeling the tremors of uncertainty in his chest. "We're not afraid of you." But even as the light pushed the darkness back, dread crawled back into his heart. What did the entity mean by ultimate terror? As the shadows lurked closer, a shred of doubt crept in. Would they truly escape this nightmare unscathed? The shadows flickered, shifting again, taking form as monstrous beings of his worst fears. "Choose now," it screeched, its twisted limbs clawing at their minds. Jake could feel his courage waver. The creature's power was looming, and his heart raced. Could he really protect everyone he held dear? Would his love be enough to carry them all through this darkness? Space spun around them, and as fear wreathed his senses, a thought pierced through the din. What ultimate sacrifice awaited them if he failed? The choice loomed again, each second weighing heavier. The shadows swirled with a new intent. The line between hope and despair blurred. What would Jake's next move be? And could he unravel the truth hidden in the chaos before it was too late? The shadows quivered around them, like thick smoke igniting with malice. Jake's breath quickened. He gripped his friend's hands tighter, the warmth of their presence flickering like a distant flame amid the encroaching darkness. But could their bond withstand this onslaught? As the shadows hissed and shifted into grotesque figures, Jake recognized what they were: frightening images of himself, twisted reflections of his deepest fears, a dark mirror showing him failures, loneliness, pain. He stumbled back, his heart raced, fingers trembling in Lily's grip. "Jake, look at me." Lily's voice was firm, cutting through the dread. Her eyes blazed with determination. "You can't surrender. We'll face them together." From deep within, a surge of defiance stirred. The memories they'd shared flickered in his mind: fishing trips, late-night talks, silly mistakes made amidst laughter. Those moments crafted a web around their hearts. And in this moment of peril, that web could protect them. "I love you guys," he shouted, his voice pouring out a reservoir of emotion. "We've survived so much. Don't let these shadows win." Mark nodded, chest heaving. "We're not just friends. We're family." His face tightened in resolve, and Jake saw the light of hope flicker in his eyes, right before the shadows lunged. All at once, the cavern vibrated with a chorus of wails, an awful cacophony of despair. Each scream clawed at their edges, a chilling reminder of what they stood to lose. The shadowy figures lunged at them, clawing for flesh, but Jake closed his eyes and focused, grounding himself in the warmth of their unity. With a surge of will, Jake drew from the love binding them. He felt it swell and pulse, illuminating their surroundings. "No more," he bellowed, unleashing a wave of light that surged from their joined hands. The shadows recoiled, screeching, twisting, racing against the light. Jake could feel their fear, a bizarre sense of empowerment filling him. With every ounce of strength, he pushed forward, desperately wanting to reclaim his sister and all those lost to the dark. But the darkness didn't relent. Wreathed in spite and resentment, the entity coiled tighter, drawing in all joy. "You think you can escape?" it howled, the shadows gaining mass. "This pain is inevitable." Jake's resolve wavered. He couldn't fail. The fight wasn't just against shadows. It was against the very essence of despair that had held him down for so long. He could almost hear the memories of laughter from the lake, ghostly whispers in the air urging him on. "Think about everyone we've lost," Lily urged, eyes fierce. "Think about the future. How do you want to remember this moment? As a fight, or as a surrender?" The weight of her words resonated in his spirit. Jake opened his eyes, and, for a split second, the cavern glimmered with hope. "No, I refuse to give in." Energy cascaded through them, building an incandescent pulse. The shadows writhed and shrieked, their forms distorting in the light. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the raw power of their bond filled the space between them, surging with light that split the air. Together, they roared, voices rising to crescendo. And with that, they polished the light to a sharp edge, reaching deep into the heart of darkness. But just as victory seemed within grasp, an explosion of shadow erupted from within. Jake was thrown backward, disoriented. The cavern trembled, and the shadows entwined tighter, forming a monstrous being, a fusion of every fear he'd ever felt. Now you'll witness true terror. It spat, looming impossibly large above them, casting an ominous shadow that felt all-consuming. Panic surged through Jake's veins. What could he do? He had fought with everything he had, but the stakes had just escalated. This was not just about him anymore. His friends' lives hung in the balance. Had he truly unleashed the depths of despair? Would the bonds they fought for snap under this new pressure? Jake clenched his fists. This was only the beginning. The monstrous entity grinned, a horrific promise lingering in its form. Ready for your darkest nightmare. In that terrible moment, Jake realized that the true test awaited them, one that would push their friendship to the brink. Would they rise above the darkness, or would they be consumed in the end? What fate lay beyond the veil of shadows, and could they claim victory before the ultimate horror unfolded? The creature loomed above them, an abomination of swirling night, its eyes burning like molten coal. Jake's heart pounded. He felt small, insignificant beneath that gaze. The walls of the cavern pulsed, echoing the rhythm of his fear, a reminder of everything he had ever lost. "Focus, Jake," Lily shouted, still gripping his hand. Her voice cut through the dread that threatened to swallow him whole. "We can fight this together." With determination coursing through him, Jake took shallow breaths, steadying himself. He glanced at Mark, who stood resolute, a guiding light in this suffocating darkness. Their bond felt like an electrical current, igniting strength within him. "Let us show it who we are," Mark cried, his voice piercing the oppressive atmosphere. As the monstrous entity reared back, preparing to strike, Jake dared himself to look deeper. It was a reflection, he realized. Every shadow, every twisted feature was born from his fears and regrets, his fears of inadequacy, his deepest insecurities. But what if they were also the key to their victory? "Think about what fuels the darkness," Jake shouted, his voice strengthening as clarity emerged. "It's our doubts and fears. They can't control us if we don't let them." Lily caught his eye, understanding sparking between them. "Use that pain. Convert it to power." In his heart, Jake dredged up every sorrow, every hurt that attempted to bind him. He remembered his sister, the laughter they shared that now felt like a ghost echoing in the shadows. "Hold on," he urged, feeling their connection tighten. "Focus on love. Remember the good." They joined hands tightly and exhaled the weight of their anguish. The cavern trembled in response, a low rumble like a gathering storm. Together, they summoned every ray of hope, transforming grief into a radiant glow. A wave of light erupted from their hands, cascading through the shadows like a living thing. The monstrous visage recoiled, its many faces twisting in confusion as they fought back. "And oh," it bellowed, the sound resounding like a scream in a windstorm. "You are nothing without your fears." But Jake felt power stir in his veins. "We're not defined by our fears. We rise above." With that, he pushed the luminous energy forward, unshackling it, allowing his heart as strength to flood the cavern. The shadows shrieked and writhed as the light pricked at their darkness, illuminating the abyss that had clawed at him for so long. But just as they began to break through, the entity lashed out one last time. A tendril of darkness shot forward, wrapped around Jake, crushing his chest. He gasped for breath, feeling the grip of despair closing in again. Whispers of defeat swirled around him. "Jake!" Lily screamed, her voice a lifeline amid the storm. "Fight! You're stronger than this." The sound of her determination pulled him from the brink. He couldn't give in. Not now. He thought of all they had fought for, the friendships, the memories, the beautiful life waiting for them beyond this moment. Together, he roared with everything he had left. A column of brilliant light exploded from their hands, cleaving through shadow and despair, but the creature retaliated, engulfing the light in a pit of dark fury. For a heartbeat, time stood still, and the two forces collided. The cavern shook violently, sending stones and dirt tumbling. Shadows danced, flickering like candles in a whirlwind. Was this the end? Jake braced against the force, a wave of disbelief crashing over him. Then, a sudden crack split the air. The light surged, flaring with intensity. The monstrous creature howled, its form fracturing into a million pieces, flickering like a dying flame under the onslaught of their newfound strength. But as the darkness began to dissipate, A chilling whisper echoed against the walls, creeping into their minds like a malignant serpent. You think this ends here? You haven't seen anything yet. Jake's heart dropped. The shadows may have receded, but the battle was far from over. Just as hope flickered, an uneasy tension squeezed the air, and from the remnants of darkness emerged another figure, stealthy and patient. Who are you? Jake stammered, dread pooling in his stomach. Your next greatest test, it replied, a smirk curling on its lips. And I'm just getting started. The abyss had not been vanquished. It had merely stirred. What new horrors awaited them at the edge of this filmy darkness, and would they survive the trials yet to come? Jake's heart raced, each beat echoing the impending doom that seemed to engulf the cavern. The light they had fought so hard to manifest flickered, leaves dancing in the winds of uncertainty. He felt the shadows still lurking, their whispers promising a return that would cut deeper than before. Fight it! Lily's voice rang out, a lifeline amongst the unsettling gloom. We've come this far. We can't let it take us down. Mark nodded fiercely, rallying beside Jake, nearly vibrating with energy. We've faced our past. Whatever this new challenge is, we face it as one. The dark figure loomed, features shrouded in shadow, an unsettling grin that seemed to absorb every shred of light in the cavern. You've only danced with your nightmares, it hissed, voice dripping with contempt. Do you really think you can outrun your own darkness? But now, Jake felt the weight of their shared strength, the bond formed through shared struggle, fueling a rekindled resolve. No, he shouted, voice steady. We run. We will embrace it, all of it. We understand now. The entity's smirk faltered, giving way to curiosity. Embrace the darkness? You're more foolish than I thought. Surrender to it, and I promise, you will truly understand what it means to be lost. With newfound determination, Jake squeezed Lily and Mark's hands, feeling their warmth intertwine with his own. We've faced our fears. We know how to fight back. We let your shadow consume us. Together, Lily echoed, the strength in her voice resonating like thunder, stirring the echoes of shared memories, past laughter and hope. The shadow tightened, tendrils crashing and curling around them with a ferocious hiss. But Jake felt an unwavering light inside him boiling over. Remember why we're here? He encouraged, energy coursing through him like an unquenchable flame. With a collective breath, they stood their ground against the dark figure, hands locked together, hearts synchronized in purpose. Our bonds are our strength, Jake declared, the words weaving a tapestry of trust and courage between them. The dark entity began to swirl violently, shadows surging, but Jake focused on the warmth of his friends. Instead of backing down, he took a step forward. You think fear is my anchor? He shouted defiantly. It's just a part of my story. And this story isn't over. The shadows screeched, recoiling from the intensity of their united front, the flames of courage driving them back. Your bravado makes for an ambitious tale, but it can't shield you forever. Whatever doubt remained seeped out, replaced with clarity. They weren't just resisting the darkness. They were embracing the truth of who they were. Flawed, but more than enough. Let us break through, Mark urged, adrenaline pumping. We can do this. With a shared roar, they pushed onward, channeling past pain into a head-on collision of light and dark. Waves of energy erupted from them, enveloping the figure. The darkness writhed, howls echoing off the cavern walls as the weight of their courage fed into the struggle. Then, in a dramatic swirl of light, Jake felt it. There was a door opening. A pathway illuminated by every victory, each cherished memory, all rising against the forsaken fears. We are indeed defined by the shadows, he called, a surge of joy rushing through him as hope surged. The shadow entity shivered, struggling against its own shifting form, but cracks began to appear in its grip, light breaking through the suffocating grasp. No, it howled, but their bond was impenetrable. I will take you. Not today, Lily shouted defiantly. With a final surge, they pushed forward, and the light erupted like 1,000 suns, obliterating the dark figure in waves of brilliance. A brilliant scream pierced the air, then silence. The cavern trembled, shadows dissipating into nothingness. They stood there, breathing heavily, the silence strangely comforting. Did we do it? Mark whispered, eyes wide with disbelief. Jake released a shaky breath, the tension in his chest easing. I think so, we faced it. Together. Lily squeezed his hand tighter. We survived and we have each other. That's all that matters. The once menacing stones now sparkled, reflections of their victory twinkling against the walls, like stars born from their triumph. As they stepped back from the altar, the path ahead became clearer, the fierce storm above settling into a gentle breeze. The lighthouse held scars of their battle, but it stood as a testament to their journey and resilience. Let us get outside, Jake suggested, looking at his friends, and they nodded, newfound freedom weaving in the very air they breathed. Reaching the doorstep of the lighthouse, sunlight poured over their faces, illuminating every smile and tear reflecting relief. The ocean glimmered invitingly, waves crashing gently, whispering a promise of new beginnings. They stood together, shoulders touching, ready to embrace whatever came next. This summer may have haunted us, but we conquered it, Jake said softly, looking at each of them. And we'll keep conquering. Lily smiled warmly, her laughter like music dancing in the air. Together. And as the three friends walked away from the haunted lighthouse, a newfound strength radiated, echoing with the knowledge that whatever darkness lay ahead, they would face it together. And for that, they felt untouchable. But as the lighthouse stood sentry behind them, it whispered softly in the wind, its secrets swirling like gales, ready for the next story written in flesh and bone. Thank you for joining this incredible journey. If you love this story, you need to subscribe now to make sure you never miss the next exclusive tales. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and show your support. And don't wait even one more second to flood the comments section with your reactions and wild theories about this wild ending. Lastly, share this with at least 5 friends who need to see this resolution, because true fans know the crux of our community is you. Your voice matters.